Hello, and welcome to Japanese Craft Beer Reviews. I'm here today with Beering Al, who's a longtime friend of mine, and we've done a lot of beering together. And today we're going to give you a short and sweet introduction to Kyoto Brewing Company, which is one of the breweries that we know very well and which we feel is one of the finest breweries in the country of Japan. Kyoto Brewing was started by three people. They often introduce it as a joke. An American, a Canadian, and a Welshman walk into a bar, and the punchline is they start a brewery. And actually, this is what happened. The three founders of Kyoto Brewing met in Aomori, and they were part of the JET program. Japan, is it education and training? I don't know what JET.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up while you're.
In any case, they were in that program, which is designed to bring young people from other countries to work in the educational system in Japan, especially in secondary education. And they met there. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program.
Exchange and teaching. Very good. Okay, thank you, Alan. And so the three people met there, and the American man moved to Kyoto and worked at the university in Kyoto and was very interested in home brewing. And he began working as a home brewer, developing his beers. And we met him at that point, Alan and I, and with some other friends over several years, we sampled a lot of his homebrew, and he would take notes and next time come back and we'd try some more. And he became an exceptional homebrewer and won some awards actually. And the Canadian man and the Welshman both worked in financial businesses in Tokyo, which proved to be helpful for them in procuring funds for the brewery, which the three of them began planning. And the head brewer, went to study in the US. He studied at the Brewing Institute, and he also did an internship at Lost Abbey in California, which is a very well-known, very highly regarded brewery. And then when he returned to Japan, he did an internship at Shiga Kogen, which is in Nagano Prefecture, and which I think we would agree is one of the top, if not the top brewer in Japan of beer. In 2015, they started, and in 2015, they were also selected as the best new brewer in Japan by the Rate Beer Best selection at the end of the year. In 2019, they were selected as the best brewery in Japan by Rate Beer Best. So they come with a lot of accolades, but they've never rested on their laurels ever. They keep producing good beers. They have a tap room in next to the brewer, which is open on weekends only, and they've kind of limited their hours these days, but we hope they will start expanding them sometime soon. And they have three main beers, which Alan will talk about later, and a couple of seasonal lines. And on Rate Beer, they have 182 beers listed, and that's as of February 2021. And on Untappd, they have 150, and I suspect some of those, on Rate Beer, they have 182. In fact, that is a complete list. And a friend of ours is actually has been doing that during the whole 5.5 years that they have been open. The Rate Beer average for their beers is 3.71 out of 5, which is fairly high. So we're going to look at a series of beers, and Alan is going to tell us about the beer lineup later on, and I'm going to look at the beer trends over this 5.5-year period to see what kinds of beers they were making and how they have changed a little bit. Okay, Alan, would you like to add anything here?
Yeah, I just, Chris, who's the head brewer, not only did he internship at, at Lost Abbey, he also, they did a trip up and down the coast, the West Coast, and, went and consulted with a whole number of breweries
Right.
and, wound up making relationships, which later came out and they did, in collaborations that they did with a number of breweries. So, they really, I think he spent a couple of years really building the groundwork for becoming the head brewer, and
Mhm.
he did. He
He
put in
did.
the time and the effort, and that's something that I was just really impressed by.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's a very level-headed guy, and it's very clear that he knows his stuff. I'm going to pause here for a second, Alan. Okay, so now let's take a quick look at some of the trends that Kyoto Brewing has been going through over the last 5.5 years with their beers. I'm going to show you some information and bring it up on the screen here. And I think we can see this pretty clearly, I hope. I do not want to, I'm sorry, let me. All right, and now let's take a look at the different kinds of styles that Kyoto Brewing has made over the years. They started in May 2015, so it's basically a half a year. And what we're looking at here is Saison and Belgian Pale Ale and Pale Ale, American style Pale Ale, as their top beers. And the head brewer has always been partial to Belgian styles, and we'll see that going throughout the years. And so 11 different styles in that year and 10 styles in 2016. Again, we have Pale Ale American, Saison, and IPAs creeping in there too as well, wheat ales and Belgian Pale Ale as well. 2016, Saisons took a jump and Pale Ales are still there, wheat ales still, IPA, yes. And now we have some other session IPAs coming in and double IPA and Imperial Stout. The number of styles has gone up to 16 here in 2017. Let's move along. In 2018, we have 19 different styles, so they were really getting busy. And you can see Saison has taken the top place, and that's where it stayed throughout from 2019 and 2020. That's their preferred style. IPA, double IPA, wheat ales, all these are still up there. Session IPAs. So we're seeing a whole variety of these styles that they like to make constant across the years. But and in 2019, only 17 styles, 2020 back to 19. And we're seeing a much wider variety of styles developing here. So sour and wild ales in 2019, 2, in 2020, 4. So, and also in 2020, pale lager. So they started brewing their first lagers in 2020. Kelch styles. So things that we have not seen from them. And so you can see that the number of styles is fairly constant, more or less, but in 2020, we're seeing a big expansion of different types of styles as well. Okay, their top styles over the 5.5 years from the May 2015 to the end of 2020 are, as you see here, Saison, IPA, American Pale Ale, Wheat Ale, Session IPA, Double IPA, Belgian Pale, IPA Belgian style, and Imperial Stout, and then Sour and Wild Ale flavored. So they tend to focus on Saisons and IPAs, but a whole variety of styles. So they generally tend to do everything well. Okay, and now Al will talk about other features of Kyoto Brewing, including the different series that they make.
Yeah, so they have 7 series, and this is sort of roughly in order, not quite accurately, but in order of their production, maybe in availability. And their year-round beers are ones that, as you see here, they're Ichigo, Ichie, Belgium, which is a saison, their Ichi Senshin, and then their Kuroshio no Gotoku, so a Belgian stout and Belgian IPA there. And essentially, now these are widely available and increasingly, and because of COVID, what they've done is they've gone into canning and they've forked out, the necessary money to move from bottling. Hand bottling is what they used to do, and now you can find these, I think, as places like Isetan and a big account is Seijo Ishi. So, and Seijo Ishi, this is great when COVID ends for travelers. When you go through Shinkansen stations or airports, you may well find a Seijo Ishi there that you'll be able to pick up some of these if you're interested. Yeah, so these are canned now, and they've moved in that direction, and they've really committed to the canning. It's much less expensive, and it's just more efficient, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Okay. Let me just add very quickly here that they have made a total of 185 different beers or releases since February, or as of February 27th, 2021. And in 38 different styles, and they average about 29 releases per year. Okay, so that would include these beers as well. Okay, let's move on to the next group.
Right, and these are also fairly, I think, are going to be almost as widely available, and again in cans. And these are their seasonal beers. They have two styles. The Shunka Shuto, which is a saison or farmhouse, and Kimaguri, which is usually a pale ale. It sometimes can be something else, but
an IPA, for example. Yeah.
IPA, I think, one sometimes, and then so you're looking at spring, summer. Those are going to be the lighter style versions of these, and then you're going to have fall and winter where they make sort of heavier versions of them. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say on those.
Yeah, and Shunka Shuto is the names for 4 seasons, from spring, summer, fall, and winter. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and here's where my order kind of gets a little bit screwy, but this is a new one, and I'll have to ask Nevitt to fill us in a little bit, but they're starting, and they've got at least their first version out of the 3rd series, the 6 Taste series, where they explore different kinds of IPAs, and they look at some sweeter, sour, salty, spicy, bitter, savory, umami characters. And I'll let Nevitt, I'll let our friend here, Beering, do you want to edit that?
Yeah, I have had the first one, which is the sweet one, which is called Kan. And they use Sabro hops, which give a coconut sort of note. And they also put coconut powder into it as well. So that was the first one. Kind of looking forward to these experiments. They did another experiment a while back with the same exact IPA recipe, but in one they used soft water, and in the other they used hard water. It was Ko and Nan series. So they're trying out all kinds of interesting things.
Yeah. So this may not be a permanent series. It's just at present, this is considered one of their 7 series. So on the other hand, the 4th series, the Freedom series, that's going to be around, I think, forever. That's the favorite beers they like to make. And I think included in there would be the Mariko and Marie, or Mario, I think. Is it Mariko and Mario, right? And
Mario. Mario, Mariko, Marina, and Marizo. They're all IPAs. Mariko and Marina are Belgian IPAs, and actually I think they're all Belgians. Mario is 7.5%, and Marizo is 8.5%. So these are double IPAs. Yeah.
Yeah, and so these are the ones that are kind of they're uncompromising. I think they're not the ones that are um, how should I don't want to how do I put it toned down for the market or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Although I have to say, I had going up to their first, you don't have to change the slide, but, going up to their year-rounder, their Ishin Senshin, I had their recent version in can, and it was different. Of course, they're always a little bit tweaked and different, but I thought it was like a really good lager in a sense. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it struck me, and I know it's not a lager, but um, it was well done. I was
Mm-hmm.
very, very pleased with that one. And then the fifth series is the limited beers experimental, and that's the one that we tried earlier, the Ruby Royal. And you've already done a review, I think, on the Veil of Darkness, and the Ruby Royal is that imperial Belgian, well, red or kind of an amber.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, very impressive. And then I think we can go on to the next. Yeah, and then they have another series that will be around for a long time. It's going to be the Nakama. Nakama meaning sort of like friends, and appropriately named because it is their collaboration series. And just their two like recent ones as of kind of February. They had one with Heretic, the Mocha Thunder, Heretic being out of California, and then the Black is Beautiful, which is one of over 1,000 breweries participating. And I think Weathered Souls Brewing was. Now I'm not sure if they actually instigated this or not,
I think
but
they did, yeah.
obviously,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So it's just quite of an impressive feat because they have, like I say, over 1,000 breweries participating, and the profits go to legal defense for those who have been wronged or fighting for equality and inclusion.
Right.
And so, doing that sort of locally wherever your brewery is. So another impressive and ones. They've done some amazing collaborations that maybe we
Yeah.
could do an episode on that.
They well, actually, let me break in here.
Yeah.
They've done collaborations with 21 different breweries over their time, and twice with Heretic. Well, actually, three times. This is the third one with Heretic, and twice with Y Market Brewing in Nagoya. And they've also done some additional versions of those collaborations. For example, they did barrel-aged versions of their earlier collaboration with Heretic, and also with AJB, Anglo-Japanese Brewery in Nagano. And they did a Brett version of their collaboration with Upright in Portland, Oregon. So yeah, 21 different collaborations over these 5.5 years, quite a few.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, very impressive. Obviously, that trip along the west coast of the U.S. paid off. And yeah, Upright was one that, in fact, you and I kind of, I don't know if we stumbled upon it, we'd read up on it, and we finally found it in some basement. And they had those open fermenters. And this was before people knew who they were. I think they were really small. And it was really pretty interesting. That was an eye opener.
I think it was a good. They were chosen for the Fuji to Hood or Hood to Fuji. I can't remember which one. Where they Portland brewers or Oregon brewers come to Japan, and Japanese brewers go to Portland. I can't remember which one it was. It used to be every other year, and a friend of mine who organized that paired up the Japanese brewers and the Oregon brewers, and he paired Kyoto with Upright for this collaboration. I thought that was a good choice, really good choice. So.
Nice choice. Yeah, and the last in the 7 series that they currently have, and I'm sure this is all going to change at some point. This is going to probably stay around, the locality series, and occasionally they'll come out with beers that have a Kyoto theme or connection. I think there was one a few years ago that you'd mentioned about a stout that used a local roasted coffee out of Kyoto. And they have a current one. What's the current one?
Oh, it's called Iburi. It's a smoked beer. It's made with what's called Kyobancha, which is
Hmm.
I wasn't really familiar with it, but it's a smoked tea. And
Oh,
apparently, according to their website, it's either you love it or you hate it thing in Kyoto. Um,
hmm.
and they put that into a beer. It was interesting, very, very interesting. So called Iburi. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Sounds interesting. Sounds like you lapsang suchi tea,
something,
which is
yeah, maybe
very, very
something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Smoked tea.
incredibly smoky. I haven't had it, so I don't know. But it's yeah, boy, yeah, that can overpower anything,
Mm.
pretty much. So
But
yeah,
I think you're right. This series will be around for a while. They apparently are kind of turning their attention now towards their home area, Kyoto, and trying to find ways to collaborate, with more and more local businesses. We'll see what comes out of
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. And one overview, one comment on all of these is, and you've mentioned this, is that the head brewer likes Belgium yeasts, for example, particularly, and maybe American hops or German and European hops. They've picked out some pretty interesting combinations.
Mm-hmm.
You've really done a lot of research, I think, on that. And not only that, but I think there's also the local hops. Right, they were one of the
Yosano
founders.
hops. Mm-hmm.
He was on the Asian Forbes. Was
Oh,
it Forbes
what was
Asia?
that?
That was Ben. Ben was on the cover,
Oh, yeah,
and
motorcycle jacket. That's right. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, because he was involved in local hop, trying to utilize was
Yeah.
it Yosano?
It's Yosano, Northern Kyoto. Yeah, Yosano. They've
Yeah,
done
yeah,
several beers with Yosano hops. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, which is which is interesting too.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's right. That is another local connection for sure. Yeah. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, you can do a lot with local products. So they did with tea. With fruit, you could do that for sure. Hops, of course. Barley,
yeah,
not so much maybe, but certainly, coffee. Yeah. Who knows
yeah,
what they'll come up with next?
yeah.
So I think we
Yeah.
both agree that they are, in the top among the top brewers in Japan, and have been doing a great job, for these last 5.5
Right.
years. So,
And
so in
I think,
closing, Al, any final
yeah,
comments?
yeah. I mean, I thought we might mention, I mean, there are a few brewers that are just incredibly consistent, right? They just don't make a bad beer. I mean, they'll make
Mm,
a good
mhm.
beer, very good beers, and then exceptional beers.
True,
And
true.
I put them in that upper tier. And I think that Shiga Kogan is there,
Should go in for
possibly
sure.
the last with the newest head brewer at Issei Kadoya. I mean, everything I've had from them has been great,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
very
need to
good.
taste. You have to keep retasting all these different breweries because of all the
Right.
changes.
Hmm.
What about Yoroko? I'm curious because that's one
Yeah.
that I know our friend mentions a lot.
Yeah, well, we had them. I mean, I haven't seen them around as much lately. He did come down to Kyoto once for the tasting. I believe you were there, right?
I missed that.
Oh,
I
he had
really
a tap
sadly I missed
takeover
it.
at
Apparently, it was
the
amazing.
Tiggs. Yeah, so it was all very,
Yeah,
very good for sure. I haven't seen much
yeah.
recently though. Um, other
And
brewers, there's a young
TDM.
British brewer in Tokyo who works
Uh,
at TDM 1874, and
George.
they he puts out some IPAs and the British best bitter that is just absolutely astounding. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, I would
He
include
really
him in that
focuses
group for
on
sure.
malt, which is,
Pardon?
yeah. Sorry to talk over you, but yeah, he focuses on the malt and the quality of the malt, which is something that people
Hmm.
sometimes overlook. And it's really, you really notice it. A good malt is really the
Yeah.
key. If I think of like some of one of the most amazing beers I ever had was that, what was it? The Stormtrooper from, what was the name of that? It's the
Oh,
legendary.
Iron. I
No,
don't remember the
no.
brewery. Yeah,
It's the Scandinavian, famous Scandinavian one.
I don't recall that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's a Scandinavian name. It means stormtrooper. But anyways, it's mind-blowing stuff. But the malt was just what made it.
Narkikagen? Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know
that's the
that's
one.
what the
Yeah.
name meant. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
are
think so.
exceptional. Yeah.
Yeah. That was just
Very hard to find.
very hard to find. Yes.
Yeah.
So. Oh, but yeah, I think that's.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have any other suggestions for brewers, like kind of like the upper tier
In
brewers
Japan?
in addition?
In Japan?
Yeah.
Some people say AJB, Anglo-Japan Brewery, Anglo-Japanese brewery, is Anglo-Japan, Anglo-Japanese maybe, in Nagano Prefecture, definitely.
Is that their recent stuff, I take it?
Yeah, and they're quite high. And Hop Kotan, which I haven't had so much, Hop Kotan. So, the thing is, the beer scene is expanding. There are almost 500 craft brewers in Japan now.
Right.
And
there were 5 years ago, there was 200 about, and
right.
that was when Kyoto Brewing got started. And they picked a really pretty good time to get into
good time to get started. They were lucky too with they had their canning, everything all set for bottling and canning before COVID. So they were ready for that.
Bottling they had down, but actually they had to definitely upgrade to the canning during the COVID.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, they really had to get a more efficient system in, and that's it's paying off now.
And they had their web shop open, right? I mean, their web shop was going too as well, which helped them. I think
that's right.
A lot of people were not ready for online sales, and some breweries went out of business. Some breweries are biting it now, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah. And so you can get their products in canned, but I mean, still like at least the two series that are still bottled would be their experimental, and I think the ones that they're
more limited ones,
and then their favorites, I think, are still probably. I'm not sure if they're all going to be bottled or not, but but otherwise, pretty much.
Yeah, I think we expect that they will continue to do well by us, and
they've done what's needed to survive this.
COVID, so. Thank you very much, Beering Owl. Thank you, and thank you for bearing with us while we beered with you. And if you want, you can take a look at the review we have done for the Ruby Royale Shukyoku beer from Kyoto Brewing. Okay. All right. Take care. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye now.